Hello geometry students. Today's learning target is to talk about proportional parts in a triangle, and I'm going to draw this triangle here, and these two lines are parallel, so it has to be given that those two lines are parallel. I'm going to call this yellow length A, the blue length here B, green length C, and pink length D. And it turns out there is a relationship between these segments. I'm going to quickly show you here. So if you look at this triangle, I have a scale factor of 2.5 between the big triangle and the little triangle. You'll see that 2.66 over 3.99 and 3.54 over 5.73 are the same fraction, 0.67. Even if I were to change the triangle, those ratios are the same. If I change the scale factor, you can see 2.91 over 5.82 is 0.5, 3 over 6.01, and there's a little bit of rounding error, is 0.5. So it turns out that we can say the following: A over B is equal to C over D. Now visually I call A the top part and B the bottom. Likewise, C I call the top and D I call the bottom. So I say top over bottom is equal to top over bottom. Sometimes my students last year like to say, well, if we consider this to be the fraction bar, I could see A over B is equal to C over D. So some people like that idea. Let's take a look at example 2 here. If we look at example 2, and I think of this as the fraction bar, I'm going to call the question mark x. If I do that, I could say x over 27 is equal to 8 over 18. And then I can cross multiply. So when I cross multiply, get rid of this blue line. So I multiply these yellow numbers and these blue numbers. When I do that, I get 18x is equal to 216. Divide by 18. And for this problem, I get x to be 12. Let's apply that to the second, or number 3 here. Again, I could think of this as the fraction bar. I'm going to call this x. Now the dilemma on this problem, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, is that I need to find this yellow length. So in order to find that yellow length, I'm going to do 33 take away 15, because the whole is 33 and the bottom piece is 15. And when you do that, I'm going to grab my calculator here. 33 take away 15 is 18. So that yellow piece is 18. Now I'm in the position where I can say 18 over 15 is equal to x over 35. And I'm going to cross multiply. When you cross multiply, 15x is equal to 18 times 35, and 18 times 35 is 630. And then I'm going to divide by 15, and x will be 42. Now almost all the problems can be solved using this relationship. Top over bottom is equal to top over bottom. But I'm going to show you two other relationships here. If I call the whole thing here, if I call this whole segment E, and this whole segment F, there is another relationship where I can say A over E, the yellow over the E, which I'm going to call the whole thing, is equal to C over F. So I'm going to say the top part to the whole side is equal to the top part over the whole side. Or if you wanted to, you could say the bottom, so you could say B over E is equal to d over f. The bottom part to the whole is equal to the bottom part to the whole. It turns out that all three of these relationships hold true, and sometimes using the blue top over whole or the green bottom over whole makes the problem a little easier. So let's take a look at example number 4. I know the whole thing here is 18. I know the top piece is 12. So I could find this yellow piece by doing 18 take away 12. So the yellow piece is 6. I'm going to call the question mark x. And this time I'm going to use the idea of the bottom part over the whole. So if I think about that, the bottom part is 6, so I can say 6 over 18. The bottom part to the whole thing is equal to the bottom part over the whole, which is 27. And when I cross multiply, I get 18x is equal to 162. Divide by 18, and x is equal to 9. We could apply that concept if we want to number 5. I'm going to call the question mark x. I'm going to first find out this little green section by saying 10 minus 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. This time I'm going to say the top over the whole. So the top pieces are x and 4 and the wholes are 15 and 10. So for this problem I'm going to say x over 15 is equal to 4 over 10. Cross multiplying, 10x is equal to 60. Divide by 10, and I get x is equal to 6. At this point, I'm going to ask that you pause the screen and try problem number 6 and 7 on your own. I showed you an example of, in number 2, top to bottom. In example 4, bottom to whole. In example 5, top to whole. So I suggest you pause the screen, try 6 and 7, and then unpause, and I will have the answer displayed. So if you look at problem number 6, the first thing I did was I figured out the 91 by doing 63 plus 28. Then I moved to the blue equation. I said the top part, x to the whole, 117, is equal to the top part, 63 over 91, and then cross multiplied and solved. For problem number 7, the first thing I did was figure out the 48 by doing 80 take away 32. Then I did the top part 32 over the bottom part 48 is equal to the top part 36 over x, cross multiplied and solved.